welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be playing with the James Charles X Morphe palette, and I was really excited for this because I've heard a lot of different things about it, between it being very good and then of course I've heard the negative about it with the pink staining and the pigment of the palette. So I wanted to go ahead and test it for myself. This isn't a first impressions, only because I have played with some of the shades. I played with more of the neutral shades. So I figured today I would go ahead and try to do something a little bit bright, a little bit different than what I normally would do, because I only play with neutrals ever, and so I wanted to step out of my comfort zone and see if we can go ahead and achieve something completely different with this gorgeous palette. So first I'm going to go ahead and dip into a paint pot by MAC. And I have this in shade Painter Fly. I'm going to grab it on an M224 brush. So I'm just going to dip into that. Just because this is what James recommended as far as a eye primer. Just something a little bit tacky just to hold the color down a little bit better. And this is actually my first time trying a paint pot, so hopefully it performs well and like it's supposed to, because that would be great. I think first I'm going to take a Morphe M173 brush and I'm going to dip into Canvas, just this peachy shade right here, just so I could go ahead and get like a nice base going, just so I have something to have laying in the background while I put a bunch of bright colors all over my face. I definitely think I want to use a little bit of Cape Cod, this teal shimmery color. I actually think I might dip into that maroon. Maybe a little bit of Daddy, just as a normal green. So first I think I'm going to go ahead, just so that it kind of has a nice blend, I'm going to take a little bit of Pinkity Drinkity and I'm going to go ahead and put that all over my eyelid as well, just as like my actual transition color. I'm going to take that on a Morphe M505 brush. So because I am so pale, I feel like not a whole lot of color shows up on Pinkity Drinkity, and I'm really not even tapping off the excess. I'm just trying to build up just a little bit of color. There's a little bit of a hint, but for me, with as pale as I am, not a whole lot of color did show up. Next, I think I'm going to go ahead and tap into the maroon shade of Love That and take that on a Morphe M506 brush. So that definitely coated the brush like a lot, and so I'm a little nervous, but we're going to go ahead and go in with like a light hand. So I don't hate this so far. What I think I'm going to go ahead and do is build it up on the outer corner a little bit. So now that I have that all laid down, I think I'm going to go ahead and dip into Daddy next, which is a very nice forest green. And again, it definitely coated the brush quite a bit. And I'm going to go ahead and just take this on my inner corner. So definitely be careful, this definitely has fallout, and so make sure you're very careful wiping that away, because with this green it's gonna stain a little bit if you just brush it in. So that definitely darkened it up like a lot, and I'm not sure how I'm feeling about it. So I think I'm actually gonna dip back into Pinkity Drinkity and try to soften everything up. So I definitely think that helped a little bit. It softened it just enough that it didn't look so harsh, and the greens toned down just a little bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and dip into that Cape Cod, the teal metallic shade. And I'm going to put that right in the center. So that's definitely like a lot of green going on. I don't love it because I think I should have reversed it. I should have had the maroon on the inside and the green on the outside. So that's on me. The colors for the most part blend pretty well. I noticed that when I'm doing my windshield wiper promotions, I do have to go ahead and also like dab just a little bit because it gets a tad bit patchy because my eyes tend to be really dry. So I'm definitely not blaming the shadows or the formulas on that whatsoever. It's just a me struggle. And because I'm not a makeup artist, this isn't looking that great. And this is why I also stick with nudes and neutrals, because it's what is safe, and this is why I shouldn't step out of my comfort zone. But it's too late, so we're gonna keep going just to brighten it up a little bit, because why not? I mean, we've already messed up enough. I'm gonna go into Social Blade, the lime green shade, and I'm gonna put that under my eye up until about my pupil. So one thing I do have to say about these, like, they're crazy pigmented, so that's definitely not a single issue I have with any of these shadows so far. The only thing that I think sucks that I've like personally have experienced is that Shook shade, because it is so metallic and it's more of a loose pigment that's pressed. I don't really know how to explain it, but it just kind of got all over. So at some point I will need to clean that up a bit because it's just kind of a mess. So now that I have that green, let's go ahead and let's do the hot pink. We'll do Skip. This hot pink shade right here. And I'm gonna go ahead and put that on the other side of my under eye. And this was the color that supposedly they had all those issues with like staining your eye because it's a pressed pigment and all that nonsense with that girl freaking out. So hopefully my under eye isn't stained pink for like 10 years. But you know, I've already been warned, I'm already aware, so if it is, I mean, that's no one's fault but my own, because I acknowledge it, I know it. And so, I mean, no one to blame except for myself. I really don't think I've ever used a pressed pigment knowingly, and so if I have used them, I haven't had any issues or reactions. If I haven't used them, then there's a first time for everything. So just because we're doing so many colors, I think I'm gonna go ahead and let's dip into Playground, the bright blue shade, and put that on my inner corner just to brighten things up a little bit. So I mean, we've already got half the rainbow on our eye, so why not put the whole rainbow? And then one last thing, I think I'm gonna go ahead and let's dip into Ring Light, this shimmery cream shade here, and dab just a tad bit on top of that blue. Just to wake her up just a tad bit. So yeah, I really like the way all these shades were forming. Do I love my look? Absolutely not, but you know, that's my own fault. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop on some liner and some mascara. So overall, I would say my final thoughts of the Morphe James Charles palette is really good. I really like how there's so many shades to choose from. I like how well they perform and blend. I wish that I was as good as like real makeup artists and beauty gurus who can do the rainbow and it looks flawless. I wouldn't say I was exactly trying to do that, but let's just say that whatever I did do looks awful and I hate it. And I literally can't wait to wipe this off of my face. But as far as the palette goes, the palette's really nice. I really like it. I've actually never tried a Morphe eyeshadow before, and so this wasn't just a James Charles review or opinion, but also Morphe, and I would definitely give them 2 thumbs up. I definitely like this palette. As always, links are down in the description. Give this a thumbs up if you like this video. Subscribe if you have not. Until next time, guys.